Kant's Deontological Theory of Ethics by Camilla Chudder, March 2010. Kant observed the world around him and realized that every culture, religion, and everybody was aware of some kind of moral law. Whether they obeyed it or not was a different thing. Kant's moral theory can be summarized by his famous quote, "Two things, above all others, fill the mind with ever-increasing awe and wonder, the starry heavens above and the moral law within." This means that like laws of gravity in science, which are absolute, so is moral law. Starry heavens is a metaphor for scientific absolutism. He said that even though we have a choice, we can all still identify the moral law. For example, do not steal. Kant's deontological theory of ethics is an absolutist theory, i.e., something which is considered wrong, like suicide, will always be wrong no matter what the case. The term deontological shows that Kantian ethics is linked to the morality of duty. He believed we all have a duty, and that duty is to obey the categorical imperative. The categorical imperative states, the moral law shows that what we should be doing. The imperative is largely based on the action itself rather than the consequences, which come about through the action. The categorical imperative has three formulations, i.e., it can be explained in three ways. The first formulation is the universal law. This states that one should act on the maximum through which can become a universal law of nature. In other words, we should only conform to an action which, if the rest of the world did, would be acceptable and sustainable. Furthermore, it also brings up the concept of reversal, which states that we should consider if an action is acceptable is somebody else did it to me. For example, we know that lying and stealing is wrong because nobody in the planet would like it if someone or lied or stole from them. Also, if everyone in the planet did it, society would fail, hence action is immoral. If we comply to the first formulation, we will eliminate selfish interest in our dealings with other human beings. In so acting, we develop what he terms goodwill. It is impossible to conceive of anything at all in the world, or even out of it, which can be taken good without qualification except goodwill. This quote is quite self-explanatory in itself, but it is important to recognize that to have goodwill is to perform one's duty for the sake of duty and for no other reason. There are four crucial examples of the universal law. The first two are what Kant calls perfect duties. These are duties where there are no exceptions. The first is suicide. He says that this is always wrong, because if the law was universalized, then society would fail, nobody would be left. The second is false promising, i.e., knowingly making promises which cannot be fulfilled. He said that this will always be wrong, because if it were universalized, nobody would trust anybody and society would fail. He said these were examples of contradictions in conception. The other two examples are imperfect duties. They cannot be done all the time. The first is seeking the perfection of our own talent. The second is seeking to promote the happiness of other people. As one can see, both cannot be completed all the time, unlike perfect duties. He says that these duties were contradictions in the will. We will not be blamed if we are not able to complete it, but if we do, we will get praised for doing it because it is over what is expected of us. The second formulation is treat humans as ends in themselves. This means that we respect and appreciate that every human has an intrinsic value and should not be treated as a means to an end. For example, if I told my sister to give money to charity, and she did it without making her own judgment, then the action would be immoral. This is because, even though the action can be universalized, she is being used as a means to an end, i.e., she is being used to support the charities. However, if she absorbed what I had said and came to her own judgment that yes, I want to give it because it will help others, then it is considered a moral action. The third formulation of the categorical imperative is the kingdom of ends. In this, Kant states that every person must so act as if he or she were through their maxim always law-making members in the universal kingdom of ends. In other words, exceptions cannot be made for certain individuals. For example, you cannot say I'm going to kill myself out of love when you realize it is unacceptable if it were universalized. Ultimately, Kant believes our reason can help us to see moral law and make us take moral actions. He believed it is our duty. My duty in one situation is my duty in every situation, to act morally, that we will be rewarded for this. If not in this life, Kant said we will be rewarded in our next life, and this he called summum bonum. Ought implies can is a three-word phrase which summarizes this belief. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has helped. Please visit my blog, rate and support and subscribe. Thank you.